So, today we're diving into Joshua chapter 11. And let me tell you, this isn't just another battle story. This is the great crescendo, the final climactic military campaign of Israel's entire conquest of the Promised Land, and what it reveals about God, about our own battles, and about true rest. Man, it's absolutely profound. You know, this whole chapter, it's all driving toward this one single beautiful sentence. This is where we're headed. But the journey to get here, to this quiet, settled peace, is through the storm of the biggest, scariest battle Israel has ever had to face. Okay, so this brings up a couple of really important questions for us, right? First, how did a walking army defeat the most powerful military coalition in the land? And maybe more importantly, what on earth does this ancient story of war and rest have to say about the battles we all fight, for peace in our own hearts and minds? Well, the answers are found in God's really surprising strategy. All right, so to even begin to answer that first question, you've got to feel the sheer weight of what Israel was up against. This wasn't just another little skirmish. I mean, this was basically the world, as they knew it, gathering every last bit of its power to just crush the people of God. And the Bible really wants us to feel the scale of this thing. So you've got this northern coalition, led by a king, Jabin of Hazor, and they pull together an army that's just called a great horde. The sheer number of soldiers is just mind-boggling, but that's not even their biggest advantage. But here's where it gets really interesting. You gotta notice the specific language being used here, like the sand that is on the seashore. Sound familiar? It should. It's the exact same language God used centuries before to promise Abraham a family. It's this incredibly painful, deliberate twist of the knife, right? It's a spiritual attack that's basically screaming, the very promise God gave you, we're it, and we're here to destroy you. And believe me, they had the tech to back it up. I mean, horses and chariots. For them, that was like a modern armored tank division. They were fast, they were terrifying, and they were absolutely devastating on open ground. And what did Israel have? Nothing. Not a single one. They were an army on foot staring down the most advanced military machine of their time. So you get the picture, right? The odds are completely impossible. It's literally a walking army against tanks. But what we see is that God is setting this up. This isn't just a military battle. God is orchestrating a battle for dependence. His strategy isn't just about winning, it's about teaching Israel how they win. And check this out. Before anyone even draws a sword, God speaks. And he doesn't just say, hey, you'll win. He gives this really specific and honestly kind of strange command. He says, when you win, and notice he says when, not if, you are to permanently disable their greatest weapons. Don't capture them, don't use them for yourselves, destroy them. Okay, so here's the absolute heart of it. God's strategy here isn't military, it's theological. He promises the victory, but on one condition. Israel has to destroy the very weapons that could make them feel self-sufficient. He's literally removing the temptation for them to ever look back and say, yeah, we won because we finally got our hands on some of those sweet chariots. No, the lesson has to be crystal clear. You will trust in the name of the Lord your God, not in military might. All right, so after the battle, Joshua's army turns its attention to one city in particular, Hazor. And to get the genius of what's happening here, there's this one little Hebrew word you gotta know. It's rosh. It means head, but not just your physical head. It means the leader, the chief, the top of the whole system. See, the Bible specifically tells us that Hazor was the rosh. It was the head of all these kingdoms. It was the biggest, most powerful city. So when Joshua burns it to the ground, and only it, this isn't just random violence. It's a targeted, symbolic strike. You cut off the head, and the body of the opposition completely falls apart. Okay, so the main battle is won. The head of the snake is cut off, but the story isn't quite over yet. The aftermath teaches us this powerful lesson about giants, about gifts, and about how God's plan can stretch across generations. And then we get this incredibly satisfying moment in the story. Joshua finally confronts and cuts off the Anakim, the giants. You remember them, right? These are the exact same giants that the spies saw 40 years earlier, the ones who made an entire generation of Israelites completely give up and say, we're like grasshoppers, we can't do this. That paralyzing fear that crippled an entire generation, their kids, Joshua's generation, they're the ones who finally face it and defeat it. But there's this little detail here that is just wow, it's fascinating. The text says some of the Anakim escaped to a few cities, including a place called Gath. Fast forward a few hundred years. And where does the most famous giant in history, Goliath, where does he come from? He comes from Gath. The unfinished business of one generation becomes the defining test for the next. It's like every generation has to face the giants left over from the last. But in the middle of all this fighting, there's another really important detail we can't miss. Israel takes over the other cities, but they're intact. They inherit houses they didn't build, wells they didn't dig. This is the fulfillment of Moses' promise from Deuteronomy. The point is this: the inheritance isn't a paycheck they earned for being good soldiers. No, from start to finish, it is a gift. It's all grace. And this brings us right to the heart of everything. You see, the whole story of Joshua isn't just about a guy named Joshua. It's a pattern, it's a shadow, and it's all pointing to someone much greater, who would bring a much greater kind of rest. You know, when the Bible says the land had rest, the Hebrew word there is shakat. Now, this isn't the rest you get from taking a nap. Think about the deep, profound quiet after a hurricane has finally passed, or the stillness that settles over a battlefield when the war is really truly over. That's shakat. And here it is. This is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The name Joshua in Hebrew is Yehoshua, and the name Jesus, well, in Hebrew it's Yeshua. It's literally the same name. The first Joshua, Yehoshua, he fought to give a physical land rest from physical war. But the true and greater Joshua, Yeshua, came to give the human soul rest from its inner war, the war of striving, of sin, of anxiety. And of course, Jesus extends this incredible invitation himself. And just notice what he says. He doesn't say, go fight harder or win all your battles and then maybe you'll find rest. No, he says, come to me and I will give you rest. The rest isn't a reward for our conquest. It's a gift we receive when we surrender to him. And this is it. This is how Jesus just perfectly and completely fulfills this pattern we see in Joshua 11. He's the one who faced the ultimate enemy coalition, sin and death itself. He struck the head of the enemy on the cross. He disarmed every power that stood against us. He cut off the giants of guilt and fear we could never face on our own. He won the final victory so he could give us the final inheritance. True, lasting peace with God. So we end up right back where we started, with that beautiful word rest. Joshua gave the land a temporary rest from war. But Jesus, the true Joshua, offers your soul an eternal rest, a shakat, a deep and lasting calm. So the question this chapter leaves us with, it isn't for an ancient nation thousands of years ago. It's for you. It's for me, right now. What's the war that your soul needs his rest from?